everyone. Good morning and welcome to 𝗥𝗵𝗲 Show. Thank you for always tuning in and being here with us. We value your company. We value you for tuning in to listen, learn, and grow each and every week. Success depends on you, and the fact that you all show up really means a lot to us. So today, my co-host Ria, she's going to be taking over the conversation. And just to put into context as to what is the show about, the show is about real estate and mindset. And Ria, she talks about from the real estate, she talks about from the real estate perspective, and I talk about from the mindset perspective. So together, Ria and I, we bridge the gap to achieve success for you or to achieving life. And so without further ado, my name is 𝗥𝗵𝗲.
My name is Ria.
And welcome to our show. Ria, I'm going to pass the mic to you.
Thank you, 𝗥𝗵𝗲. And today's topic is a continuation from Increase Our Financial IQ by Robert Kiyosaki. So let me share my screen. Right. So today is a continuation of the poor and middle class dialects, specifically on the mirror neurons. Now, I'm going to be sharing with you the continuation of the topic, and these are the lessons that I learned from the book. The good news about the mirror neurons is that you and I can change our perception of our own selves. We can change the perception of ourselves by changing our perception of ourselves. And I'm going to talk about the methods, the ways in this topic below. So this can be done. So the way we can change the perception of ourselves is by adapting our mirror neurons. So the mirror neurons, it's likened to the monkey. So monkey see, monkey do. So that means is we try to imitate what we see in others. So how can we change the perception of ourselves so that we can better ourselves? And according to the book, it is by adapting our mirror neurons. Robert says it is not easy and it can be done. For example, so Robert in the book talked about his life's examples. So to continue, the example that Robert gave was his life. So Robert had not changed his perception of himself. He would not have met and married a beautiful woman like Kim. And Robert would not be financially secure today. As of today, Robert says they own more than 10,000 apartment units. And he started with nothing. He came from a middle-class family. His dad was a teacher. What I also learned is that if Robert had not consciously changed his perception, so the important word here is conscious. You have to be conscious. You have to be consciously changing your perception, our perception. So if Robert had not consciously changed his perception, Robert would probably still be a shy, fat, poor kid speaking pidgin English. So Robert is a Japanese American and his family was based in Hawaii. This is their native language, pidgin English. So even though Robert graduated from a very good school, Robert left not feeling smart. So in order for him to graduate from a good school, Robert and his family had to live in a nice zip code, a nice area, because where your zip code is, that's where you actually had to go to school. So their family changed from an average to a higher wealthy community. And so that's why he was able to graduate from a good school. So he said that even though he graduated from a good school, he still feel not smart. he was always average. When Robert interviewed for jobs, the first question asked from Robert were, "What school did you graduate, Robert?" And if Robert had a master's degree. So those are the two common questions that whether it's Robert or whether it's you and I or somebody else, that's always what your employer wants to know. Where did you graduate and what degrees do you hold? So if Robert had a master's degree, Robert had a better chance of being hired. Once again, even though Robert was in a business world, Robert was still in a classroom, in a world dominated by left brain intelligence. In 1974, Robert, while working at Xerox, so he was selling Xerox machine, promising the company that Robert would get his MBA, his master's degree. Robert began researching the brain and the different ways of learning and teaching. Robert was looking for a way to win on his terms, not on somebody else's terms, not on the employee's terms, but on his terms. Being raised in a family of school teachers, Robert realized their measure of success was the school. A person attended, and so to go back, being raised in a family of school teachers, Robert realized that the family's measure of success was the school a person attended and how many advanced degrees he or she had, which is what the employer would ask you. Again, what school did you graduate? And if you have any master's degree or what degrees did you graduate with? So in most major corporations, employers want the pedigree of prestige that comes with advanced degrees from recognized schools. In other words, graduates from Ivy League schools are better than graduates of state universities, and state university graduates were better than graduates of community colleges. So number one, employers would look for Ivy League schools. Second, they would look for the state university graduates. And third, the community colleges. So they're ranking from the number one, which is the top, to the third, which is the least. Now, according to Robert, in the world of big business, the school you attend can give you a better job, a better title, and a better paycheck. Now, this is the traditional, okay? This is the traditional. The school you attend can give you a better job, better title, and better paycheck. And this is their measure of success. This is the world's measure of success. If you have a good job, with a good title, and with a better paycheck. Now, according to Robert, when he was around his rich dad, Robert realized that his rich dad's measure of success was totally different. It was how much money he made. It was how much his rich dad money made and the people he spent time with, and the freedom to work or not work. And lastly, how many jobs he provided. So let us think, because this is very important. Now, if you are like me, where I grew up in the Philippines, so I graduated from medicine, from doctor's degree. Because why? My parents want me to attend to a better school so that I could have a better job, which is graduate from medicine, better title. They call me as a physician. And by having to work as a physician, then I will have a better paycheck. That is, the traditional way of looking the success, right? That's how we measure the success. Now, when we when Robert was talking about, multimillionaires being around his rich dad, the measure of success in their part of the world was actually different. According to Robert, he realized that his rich dad's measure of success was how much money his rich dad made, the people he spent time with. Are you with people that you love all the time, majority of the time? Or are you stuck with other people that you have to grind with just because you are stuck with your job and you cannot do away with those people? You have no control because you're all employees. And next, the freedom to work or not work. So for example, if you want to go to a conference, can you just easily leave your job so that you can attend the conference? Or can you not work tomorrow or today because you have to attend to some important matter? Or not just one day, but probably weeks and months. Can you do that? Can you have the freedom to work or not work? And how many jobs do you provide to your community? So a very, very different mindset, because why? This multimillionaires, the rich dad of Robert, he's now an employer. So when you are an employer, not an employee, an employer provides many jobs. You are solving your community's problem. When you are the boss, you have the freedom to show up in the office or not show up in the office. Why? Because your business will continue to work. Why? Because you have employees that do the work for you. When you are an employer, you can spend time with people that you love, with your family members. You can say no to the people that you do not like to talk to. And now that you're an employer, it's how much money you make and how much money you pay to your people. It's how much money that comes back to you after paying your people, after paying your business expense. So this is a different mindset. This is what the rich dad or Robert's rich dad's measure of success. And that's what I would like to share with you too, because very, very different. When I was an employee, I never realized that this was the rich dad measure of success, or the businessman, the multimillionaire's measure of success. So Robert realized he had better decide whose measure of success he wanted to base his life on. Is it the outside world, the average measure of success, the traditional measure of success, or is it going to be his rich dad's measure of success? Since Robert did not think he could win at his poor dad's game of school and big business, Robert decided he had a better chance of winning at the rich dad's game. That is when his real education began. So Robert decided to follow in his rich dad's footsteps as an entrepreneur, as a real estate investor. So he did not go to become an employee, but he went to risk everything to become an entrepreneur and to become a real estate investor. He was now a business. He was now an investor. Robert knew he had a better chance in these areas because most A students are the most intelligent students in the class. They always get the perfect. So Robert realized that he had a better chance in these areas because most A students are employees looking for high-paying jobs and investing in paper assets such as stocks, bonds, mutual funds. Since Robert was a C student, so C student, they fail a lot, they don't get perfect grades. Their grades is smaller compared to the A students. So Robert realized that he needed to use all three of his brains, not just the left brain. So you have your left brain, right brain, and the unconscious brain, the subconscious brain. If he wanted to learn to win, so if you and I wanted to learn how to win, we got to use all of our three parts of our brain, not just the left side. The subconscious, right, and left brain. The questions for us are, What is my measurement of success? Where do we have the best chance of winning? Is my brain being trained to win? Are your brains or is my brains working together, or are they working against you? Are they working against us? So these are the lessons I learned, which I want to share with you in today's topic from the book of Robert Kiyosaki, Increase Our Financial IQ. So let me know in the comment section below what you've learned on this topic. Stay tuned for more Ria and Alka Show.
Ria, you know what? What is your measure of success? I think people need to, I need to define what is your measure of success. Everyone, we all have our different measurements, but I think that's what the highlight that you need to ask yourself, okay, what is your measure of success? How do you define what is the gauge that you have today and to where you're going to go?
That is correct. Just like what Robert was saying that, are you looking at the traditional measure of success, which is go to school, get a good grade so that you can get good work, great job with great paying, with great high paying checks, right? Or do you want to see what the few percent, right? 1% of the cream of the crop is doing? The rich dad, the multi-billionaires, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many jobs are you providing to your community? Are you taking risk? Can you take off a day, not just a day's work, but a whole month or several months? When you leave, when you don't go to your job, right? Can you still get money every night? Yes, because you have employees that still continue to work for you. So very, very different. And only did I learn that when I myself retired from working as an employee, as a physician, and now have my big business. And when we go to conferences from, hearing from billionaires, right, multimillionaires, do we understand and we realize the rich dad's measure of success, which is actually true. There's a lot of things that we do not know until we step into their world. And we see
you got to step in. Exactly. You got to step in to realize and to see, okay, well, it's wow, yes, it's difficult. Oh my gosh, but and what you said is you're going to take the risk. You're going to take risks. You're going to take chances on you. As we, hear from so many of people who've made it in this world from zero, from nothing to how they've made it. And, because every day is a chance that they see in themselves. And I think that's the question that people need to ask. Ask yourself the question every day. What chances am I taking? What risks am I taking? Or what risks am I willing to take that's going to help me become a better person? But I think that's the question. I think that is such a valid as to what you're sharing, because people need to ask themselves every day, because you know what, if you don't ask those questions, you will never know as to what is your potential. And I think that's what I talk about, when it comes to mindset, is we all have the potential, but if you don't see it, then you'll never be able to see that.
That is right. So that's why they should always stay tuned for our show, because we will continue to provide them what we've learned, either through reading books or from our mentors or from our own personal businesses.
Exactly. Personal businesses, personal life, as what we've gone through. And I think what the biggest gauge that I would say is, the experiences. I think for me, I can only talk about myself, is experiences that, I have gone through that really has helped me to measure, okay, what was that? What did that look like? Right? And so if you can take those experiences and, realize and say to yourself, okay, well, you know what? There's just so much. But I think that is such a great point to, the measure of success. And what does that look like? And guys, when we talk about the measure of success, I want you to, ask yourself these questions, because you have to ask yourself the question as to what is your measure of success, you know what? And just share it with us as to what is your measure of success, because each and every one of us, we all have our different definitions of what does that look like. What is the measure of success that you have compared to other people around you? So we have on that note, we have come to the end of another amazing show. This was such a great point, but write it, make sure that you are asking yourself these questions, because they're very pertinent, and you need to ask yourself, okay, what is that success, so that you can measure where you are today to where you see yourself going, and this is going to be a gauge for you. So stay tuned for more 𝗥𝗵𝗲 show, and we will see you at the same time, same place, come tomorrow morning. Bye for now. Have a great day.